Welcome back to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. I'm trying to see how to share with you our last bit on how the Divine Feminine and empowered individuals with secure attachment so that we know how to consistently build reliable relationships and then to know that we're not a lion or a deer. So if you tuned into our other episode, I gave you some fun stories. I gave you some fun facts, so you can go ahead and tune there. I'm just going to close out with some additional stories of why it's beautiful to see when the ego's narrative is dissolved and so love comes into the room. And then how humorous it is, though, to also see those who don't move out of shame or fear. And it's not that it's humorous in a way of let me make fun of them. It's more of it's more of it leaves you speechless. Okay, so what I did know and learn about the visceral from the attachment trauma educators, like Dr. Daniel Fox, he's personality disorder expert actually, is that there's this addiction to the shared fantasy. So when they are people navigating from a low visceral plane and that's it, and they don't heal their 3-year-old, so they have shame and all that, you'll see them perpetuate a type of cycle. And I'm going to try and share a bit of a story. So there's one of my lovely Oversoul members that I remember when they got in, they got locked in and loaded in what they wanted, because I heard the click. It was like click. And I know the energetic imprint of them. As a Divine Feminine, I know my Oversoul, all of them. And they have like a smell. And so when you're actively in the expertise of leaving it alone, it's because you will see who's a Pacha and who's a Cusco. Okay, so I use my time with Pachas. That means people who are becoming or are consistently Pachas. When I notice you're Cusco, then I'm going to know that you have the capacity to come in and out and just play around. And I will know if you're still in the middle of choosing what you want to actually do. Okay, so Divine Feminine in time, thanks to our Oversoul, we learn how to use those 24 hours and how Michael Jordan, as he says, some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, and others make it happen. How to hang out with the ones who make it happen, and how to have fun with the whole 3-year-old hearts. So people who love to love and they don't do any fantasy stuff. Okay, so back to the Oversoul story. So this person, I have them in my peripheral view because they're in my energy sphere, the relational field, the consciousness, problem of consciousness, the neuroscientists, physicists, they all know about this. So they know about our clairs. They're even looking into astral travel, all this stuff. Okay, so it's all coming together. It doesn't take away from the importance or significance for those of us who are mystics. We don't live the 4D shared fantasy stories because we don't have insecure attachment. We don't need to be special. We are people that use our human name, okay? So we don't have an ego's narrative. We don't have an abandonment wound, a shame wound. We don't have wounds. We have ourselves, and we know that this one, magic works through every person, okay? So that's what we know, and that's why we don't get into any kind of, Cain and Abel stuff. That's for insecure people. We also know that there isn't a Lucifer that's going to win anything, or a devil or a demon. We know already how life consistently expands because that's how it's always happened. And it's also because God always wins. Life always wins, not the other way around. Any ego that thinks otherwise, again, is not empowered with intelligence. They lack the capacity to regulate their self in a securely attached 1-year-old, 3-year-old, and to be a differentiated individual who can assimilate information from their ventral vagal state and have open ears for all, even that which they don't like to hear. When you can assimilate all, you will understand what I know easily, and that's why you will not be using your mouth with anyone who is, excuse me, you're confusing science and spirituality. You're going to have fun with that, and you're going to have fun with it when you tease with the smart people that you get to hang out with and say, guess what I heard? I heard it through the grapevine. Okay, so when you have amazingly smart masculines, my masculines, they know what I'm talking about. My amazing feminines also, but my masculines and I, we have a good time. That's because I'm thinking about 2, 3 of them. They're pretty smart. No, they're a lot smart. I'm waiting to find out how much smarter they're all going to keep moving along and become, because, I love to see as they thrive. And that's because they're continuing to expand who they are. And so they have their 3-year-old, they got their 1-year-old, they got their nervous system, okay, and then they got intellect, they're curious about subject matters, and they're entrepreneurs, and some of them, we need to see what's going to happen. But anyways, let me get back to the other story. So when it comes to the ones who instead are facades and they're Cuscos and they're stagnating, that's where it's a very different story. Okay, so I'm perceiving one of my lovely Oversoul members. It's a masculine in this case. They get locked in and loaded. So I hear click and I'm like, okay, that's great news. I know that they've achieved that which they wanted to achieve. And it's always vague because it's an energetic imprint that I'm describing to you as a divine feminine who's intuitive and picking up on my Oversoul. And I don't get nosy. I don't ask questions. Because if someone wants to share with me what's going on, they will do that. And so that's what happens. You only want to know if the people you love are doing well. That's my one consistent is, are you happy? Are you enjoying life? Are you sleeping well? Great. Awesome. That's the one consistent, and that's what makes me feminine. I'm going to be the one who just wants to know that you are doing well from here. Everything else, it's none of my business unless you want to bring to me. If you do, I love that. I love to be able to share. But if you don't, it's okay. I won't be because I have plenty of other things to do with my brain and people to share life with, okay? So that's why it's something straightforward. And so this masking that I'm sharing with you all about is one of the two that consistently is still in my sphere, and in a different way, because again, there's 3 actually. So whenever the energies come around, those who are still going through things, actually now there's 4, yes, I don't engage with any of these because they're not doing anything about their expansion. They're on a shared fantasy wheel with a 3D, 4D frequency. So they're stagnating in what is yesterday's news of the insecure, and that means visceral, and that means they just want push-pull, right? So they're seeking to be in a space of drama with like Hangover movie or Mean Girls or one of those crappy soap operas where a man is cheating on a woman or a woman is cheating on a man, or basically they're doing stuff from the tragedy and or torture chamber, okay? So envy, jealousy, any of that. Okay, so imagine Mean Girls with grown women and men who have completely... So I've seen when I've gone out with some people where these women, they compete for the men and the men for the women. None of them are empowering themselves. Here's the polyamory with the masochist that dude, probably this man who said that all polyamory are masochists. I said, not the healthy self-worth ones aren't. So he must have witnessed people who have insecure attachment and are doing this push-pull because there's an addiction with the... where is it? Let me go find. So there's an expert on avoidance, and he's the one who shared this. And I actually, unfortunately, get to witness at times people with their little energy doing this. So the shared fantasy stage, it's basically the highs are rewarding. They like to have intermittent reinforcement of wanting to try and get that roller coaster. And they are addicted to somebody who is emotionally unavailable, and they do this because they don't feel here deserving. So again, as long as a person doesn't get that 1-year-old and 3-year-old and their inner child healed with whatever abandonment, they're going to keep on having a subtle ding ding bell that attracts their self to things. Now here's the deal: if they don't, they'd have to want to love themselves first. That means they'd have to take themselves to therapists and then start to work. And we have the avoidant lady on screen who has shared, I don't want to do journaling or mindfulness, but I have gone to therapy every time I did have a breakup. But because I'm doing a good job, everybody's fucked up anyway. So when people decide to keep the torture chamber inside, it's because they follow fancy man and woman in suits and they choose not to continue on a journey. As Dr. Daniel Fox presents, he's a personality disorder expert. It's not because people have failed at therapy. It's because they choose to quit too soon, and then they don't have the healthy others around them, perhaps, or they just choose not to keep working on those maladaptive patterns and to get out of the drugging, fucking, drinking. Or again, healthy others are important because they can keep you on track with it, but your will of wanting to get out of it, and so you're taking seriously, unlike the avoidant lady who doesn't, she doesn't want to do it, or the Zen master's laundry. So anybody who says it's okay to suffer inside is choosing to disregard that there's a way for them to be out of that completely. So the oversoul, this one that I'm talking about particularly, when I felt them locked in and loaded, I was happy, and then I saw them being happy, and then as time passed on, I noticed this wheel. And it's in a very interesting way from this end of the spectrum, because I'm a feminine. So again, I'm a nurturer, and I'm not looking to give you this. I'm an independent woman and human being, and a true feminine, not a fake one. So my nurturing you isn't let me affect your state of consciousness, as Sadhguru presents, and he's a guru. He knows it. I know it from a different spectrum, because I'm in one, the Enlightenment Soul Age group, but also I'm Maria. I'm learned and taught, and I know people, and I'm a human, and I learn about attachment trauma, so I have that knowledge in my bank, the psych education. Okay, so when I'm around at this point, anyone, if I'm seeing Pinocchio on that island, I'm just thinking they're all basically the 0-8-year-old subconscious, unaware completely, and in maladaptive patterns and sharing fantasy. That's completely yucky energy, not interesting. I'm not involved in it at all. In fact, I don't go and do any of that. I don't hang out in the sense of a partner material is not somebody who doesn't know how to love. That's as straightforward as it gets. So you know how to love when you show me all of you, and you consistently, again, show up. And so you have none of this shame or fantasy or any of what is something unimpressive, but now understandable. Okay, so with that, you get to learn how people who are unaware, they just stay unaware is what I'm trying to get to. It's not the devil or Lucifer, it's a person who doesn't take seriously themselves or people. And with that, for me as an intuitive, thanks to my oversoul, I know how to leave it alone. So all people are a pattern of themselves once they've decided to lock in and load. In fact, I'll never forget when I was able to confirm. I confirmed this again back to the one story which I'm just wigging in and out of, but to conclude it, I had this beautiful opportunity, and it came up because there was a channeled message on my end, although I don't talk about mysticism, because this is one of my oversoul members that doesn't do mysticism at all. And I'll never forget how it was taken and not given the opportunity to have a serious, in-depth conversation about it, and instead it was twisted as usual to the same mechanism. What consistently surprises me is the capacity, though, for people in general to be oblivious to another person. But then again, I have to just use the quote from that one lady because it's spot on. It just isn't necessarily an abandonment fear. It's a person who is in a shame fear state for the rest of their life here. They're self-fulfilling prophecy, so they have the way that subjective reality with a distorted self. So they're a shame cycle of themselves. They've consolidated whatever it is that prophecy self-fulfilling of the world, and when they are around others, they're just thinking of their own needs. They're not around another because they want to engage with them from intimacy, from, wow, I really want to know how you're doing, Maria. Wow, I really want to hear what you're doing. Wow, and so again, it's fascinating is what I'm going to say from a mystic perspective. From a human perspective, it's something typical for anyone who doesn't go to get therapy and get out of whatever it is that their wounds are. So I don't have a evil Lucifer. I have the same thing I got to know of when I was a teenager. Any person who doesn't know how to be their self, their authentic true self. They're a scaredy cat, and they're a liar, and they're a person who has a shame distorted self, and their self is still on pause because they didn't choose to go to Patrick Tiahan to get that self back online. And they're in fact making fun of the attachment trauma educators. They're making fun of all of sciences. Maybe they're talking about Lucifer and evil and devils and demons, and they're doing all that. So the reality is it's unimpressive, because as a teenager I was unimpressed by fear. And that's because I don't have a button for shame. I don't have a button for let me correct your lack of capacity to talk and walk like a grown-up who has actual balls or vagina, meaning like a person. So alive people, they are inner child adults, or at the very bare minimum, a terry real and a functional adult. You'll know healthy self-worth when you meet them, because you're going to have what is people who build genuine relationships, and they will know how to see you because they know how to see their self. And this is what is beautiful about our community. So spiritually and mindfully living and loving is the ego doesn't have a narrative. It has a self, and it has love. No shame, no fear, no blame, no fault, no revenge, no evil, no devil, no demon. It's I'm a person, you're a person. And when we meet people, if they're pachas, we know we have a person in front of us. It's great. And if we have Cusco, depends what type of Cusco we got. As for divine feminine mystic, we will always be open-armed, because we will know exactly how to invest 24 hours. And also because you are a karma wheel. Once you have shown all of that, which is part of your character, a man's character never changes radically from youth to old age. What happens is that circumstances bring out characteristics which have not been obvious to the superficial observer, Hesketh Pearson. So I was sharing something with regards to my oversoul to a couple of people, and they aren't in the same empowerment of information and sense of love and all this stuff that I bring to you. And so their way of addressing this thing was, oh, so it's really great news, yay, yay. And I'm like, not really. I said, I mean, sure, but no, because the reality is this is not meaningful. It's a game that isn't even a game. It's more of a pattern. It has no substance whatsoever. Okay, so this is where facades have no substance once they decide to stagnate. This is any member of my oversoul. They're still a loved one. There's still a secure connection. What I'm talking to you about is the energetic imprint. A blind person is a person, what I'm describing to you is a person who lacks the awareness of secure attachment. People build intimate relationships. Those who don't know secure attachment don't build intimate relationships. They're a Cusco on wheels who doesn't even know what the fuck life is all made about. I'm not going to be affecting the state of consciousness because they lack to notice. They're mustard. And that's because I will have already done enough of interacting to see what I hear, like my facade friend who taught me how not to even bother with it, because the minute he repeated it was the minute that I knew he didn't hear me the first time. You understand? So you have enough experiences to where by the second time you've repeated to me something that I've shared with you that's very important to me, and you've done it erroneously, it means you don't hear me. So you're in a relationship with someone just because you need that person, not because you want to get to know the person. Because I'm a divine feminine and therefore I am a nurturer, you're not taken away from me. And that's where also, just as Maria, I am a person who understands that the 3-year-old wants the floor. Like the individual, excuse me, you're confusing. I laugh because I'm used to ego being like that. It's okay, so I don't do it like this anymore because I am, again, a person who's like, well, I won't ever know what they're thinking, so they're actually giving me some food for thought, so it's going to be fun. And you slowly just learn how to enjoy all people, and then I know the people who want to actually share life with me, and they say, hey, I want to hear about stuff, and that's what grows. So we love to share with those who love to love and love to be mindfully aware of each other. So come on, join us. And again, we love that others find us a safe haven, secure base, because really that's what it is. Secure connections are someone that people will always turn to in moments where they are thinking about how it could have been, what it could have been, should have been, would have been, da 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 da. Yeah, so regret. And some people, they live their life like that. Some of us instead, we don't. We live aliveness. Join us. Aliveness is something you live when you have unpaused yourself, if you had any of trauma stuff, and now you are yourself. And some of us, we didn't lose ourselves, and we come together. Life's too short, again, to spend it with the insecurely attached who are not in love with love, but they live stories of push-pull, dysregulated, evil, unhealthy, and between shame, fucking, drinking, drugging, and whatever evil devil stories they like to tell each other, we're not there. We're living aliveness, as every day counts. Every day counts, and we choose true love and healthy, self-soothing, and regulating people and mystics. So it's great to have you here. We'll have more stories. Have a good one.